Welcome to A Taste of AZ podcast, where we interview everyone from James Beard award-winning chefs to local mixologists, winemakers, breweries, and so much more. We've got an awesome episode lined up for you today. But before we get into that, head to atasteofaz.com so you can subscribe to our quarterly magazine and email newsletter to find all of the best places to eat and drink around town. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Now let's get into the episode.
We are here with my microphone. That was a hot mic, wasn't it? I was turned up a little bit.
So hot.
So Chef Cory Oppold.
Yep.
That's how you say it, right?
Oppold. Yep.
Oppold.
Yep.
Yeah. We did that chef series with you with SFE, which we still talk about to this day, man. The
it was like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, 2-3 years ago, something like that. It's been forever ago.
Two times flying.
We always thought your name we thought you said Oppold. Mm-hmm. And then Monty, the CEO of SFE, is like, "It's Oppold." Like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, I asked him." Like, "All right, cool. Now we know we've been calling Chef Cory the wrong name." But dude, thanks for having us in, man.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate it very much. Very much.
You were an early episode. We did it via Zoom though.
During COVID.
Yeah. You were one of our first episodes.
Gosh, that was a long time ago.
That was forever ago, man. You were with Atlas, I think.
Yeah, I think that. Well, it was during that time when I think it was a restaurant shutdown, right?
Yeah.
And then I started doing the simmer down program, all the pre-cryovac packaged meals.
Yeah.
And then, obviously when stuff reopened, then I, kind of went into the in-home dining for a while. So
yeah, I remember talking with you about that. That was a good gig, huh?
That was fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Taught me a lot. And then, I mean, obviously just building up clientele for this, obviously it helped out a lot.
For sure.
So, but it's so much fun. And it was nice to have the freedom too. Like, you weren't tied to much. I could shut down the books when I wanted to and take the day off, but that's not the reality anymore.
Now you're back to reality, right?
Yeah. But I'm grateful for it, of course.
Dude, this place is incredible. Luke and I came when you first opened, and it was really my first true fine dining experience.
Oh, it's awesome.
Blown away, man.
Thank you.
Blown away.
Thank you.
I mean, from A to Z. I can't remember who the server was, but dude, he did exactly what I needed, which is like, all right, man, get a little bit of this, get it with this. Like he was showing you how to eat it.
Yeah,
yep,
that's awesome.
Which is great. Yeah, I mean, because it's an experience, right? You create experiences, and you do a great job at it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
You are quite the man around town too. Everybody knows you. Everybody loves you. You're humble, and outside you're saying, but inside you're like, yeah. No. Dude, I mean, you're drinking out of a container. Like you're drinking. I don't know if you can see this on camera, but he's drinking out of a to-go. Like you would get miso soup to go.
Yeah, this is my deli cup. This is everyone's drinking vessel here now.
Dude,
so it's like,
I love it. I'm gonna. Can I take one home for myself?
Yeah. Hell yeah. It's our Chef Dixie cup. So.
It's incredible, man.
Yeah.
So if you go back, if you're listening to this or watching this, we won't get. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about your backstory, but we did an episode early on with Chef Cory, kind of hear your background and stuff. But really want to kind of catch up and see what's new. We haven't talked about course because at that time you didn't have course.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess just kind of a little recap. You grew up in the Midwest, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Super small town called Pearl City, northwest pocket of Illinois.
Okay.
At the time when I lived there, I think it was only maybe 500 people living there.
Yeah.
Not even a stoplight. It was I think maybe 7 stop signs.
Yeah.
Super small. I mean, but it was a nice, great community. Everyone respected each other. Everyone helped out each other. It was just one of those things. But also, with small towns, everyone knows your stuff too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that just comes with the territory, but everyone's truly amazing there. But yeah, we are in that little town. Our farm, our dairy farm was maybe 6-7 miles away from there.
Okay.
So I grew up very run around in ninja outfits and shit. And then, obviously working on a farm, but I would always get into these scenes where it's you know, at the time, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when I was younger, like you run around like a ninja, and or like G.I. Joe, you dress up on army stuff and just venture out. And it was safe for us. Like we just venture out anywhere, like
for hours,
yeah,
hours all day.
And our parents wouldn't even care. Like, all right, Cory's gone, thank God, you know.
Exactly.
So,
can you imagine doing that with their kids these days?
Oh my God,
right?
I wish. I wish my daughter could have, you know, grew up that way, where it's like, you know, you're just by yourself. You're in your, you know, using your creativity or your imagination more, and and now it's like everyone's on their cell phones, and that's their thing now.
Yeah, that's their unwind
so
kind of, which is weird because it's winds you up even more.
Yeah,
type of thing,
exactly.
You know,
they all get riled up, so it's like, I don't know.
I know, dude. I just want to take my kids, like drop them off on a back road in Minnesota, right? That's where my wife's from. I'm from Ohio. She's from Minnesota. So we're, you know, all Midwest.
Yeah.
We all grew up in that small town, and so we can appreciate that. But if you're anything like me, I couldn't wait to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, man, I want to be in a city. I want to go to the grocery store where I don't know anybody. You know, like it's one of those things where there's so many people. There's a sense of privacy.
Yeah.
Right.
And I love the farm too, but there was that thing of like, okay, I excelled pretty well in art and math in high school. So that's when I got like really into architecture. And at that time, my sister, when I was about to graduate high school, actually, she called me the Christmas before. She's like, hey, do you want to move out here? And I'm like, oh, sure. You know,
out here? She was out here?
Yeah, she's already out here. And it made sense. I mean, because, you know, Phoenix, obviously, and Scottsdale are known for their architecture of Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yep.
So it made sense for me to do so. So I'm like, yeah, why not? And then, I told everyone at school, hey, I'm moving to Arizona. And everyone's like, no, because not many people got away.
Sure. Yeah.
So then when I did, I'm like, okay. And then, but when I did get here, like, you know, obviously trying to pursue architecture, and, but it wasn't until, it's probably like, I was probably a year later after moving down here. I went to right to the Biltmore and then in that place, like I had my first like higher end meal.
Okay.
And then that's what kind of like sparked this interest of like, okay, hey, food is more than the way I grew up. It was always just about nourishment. Like, you know, here's your pot roast potatoes and fried eggs, and, you know, obviously stuff from our garden. Everything was super simple. And at that time we were organic, you know, before it was cool.
Yeah.
But
that's just how you lived.
Yeah, right? It's just how we lived, and, you know, pickling stuff, canning, everything. So I grew up it was a very awesome way to grow up, and I appreciate it. But, you know, I never got to experience like halibut and stuff like that. We just never ate much fish. And now I love fish, but it was just kind of like an eye-opening experience where I'm like, okay, food is more than just nourishment. It's, you know, it's definitely like an experience or something, you know, just more of an entertainment. Yeah. Or it could be, at least. So that's what kind of like, you know, I started buying more like Bon Appetit magazines and less Architectural Digest. And then, you know, a year after that, one of my friends is like, hey, if you're so interested in it, why don't you just go to culinary school? And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. And so I did. And, you know, I had no idea about restaurants. Like I just knew I liked that form of entertainment and making food look nice. Yeah. And just the creative aspect of it. That's what I really enjoy about food. When I went to culinary school, after I graduated, I went to, you know, different point of view. And I never worked in a restaurant in my life. Yeah. And it was just like an eye-opening experience where I'm like, oh my gosh.
So you finished culinary school and went to different point of view, which is at the top of Teal Cliffs, right?
Yep. At that time, it was Ivan Flowers. He was the executive chef there. And the kitchen ran like, you know, it was craziness because he was very malicious, very like, I mean, I was so nervous he tried to fire me for like 6 months straight, probably every day. And like almost every day on the way to work, I would vomit before I got to work. Like it was so much anxiety. It was craziness because he worked at Mary Lane's, and before that, and, you know, at that time, Mary Lane's was at the Phoenician was one of the top restaurants, you know? Yeah. Cause that's where Alex Strada was and Bradford Thompson. So all those big boys, you know, came out of that kitchen. So it was very difficult the first year, or actually the first 6 months. Yeah. But then all of a sudden, like something just clicked, you know, and I was actually about to quit. And then he's like, why are you trying to quit? Like, you know, you're better than that. So he kind of like started giving me, you know, positive, you know, just.
He broke you down.
Yeah. Broke me down and just built back up.
Yeah.
And then after a while, like he kind of taught us like, you know, if food is more than just a recipe, like a recipe is just, it's a set of instructions. He's like, you always got to look, for the techniques inside of a recipe. Like we'd never had recipes up there. So he's like, it's all about techniques and increments and how much of acid, how much, salt, how to balance everything. So like he really taught me like, okay, I can write my own recipes, and that's when everything started to click. And once it did, like I moved up, from a line cook and worked every station to like eventually becoming sous chef, then executive sous chef. And it just, everything made sense. So I worked there from 2002 to 2007.
Yeah.
But just an amazing experience, and got to meet so many great chefs came out of that kitchen. It was a good experience.
Yeah. Why did you, what were some of the reasons like you wanted to quit? Like,
in the beginning phase, it was just like, I didn't think I was cut out for it. It was just,
it was a hard, like he was a hard
it was crazy.
ass,
He was such a hard ass. And on top of that, being a good chef, he also had a teaching background. So he taught at Scottsdale Culinary Institute quite some time. So he was good at teaching. Okay. But he also had a psychology degree. So he's like also could tap into your head anytime he wanted to. And it was brutal. I mean, it wasn't just me, it was everyone. Sure. Everyone was walking on like eggshells. But then after a while, like when everything started clicking, obviously he lightened up because he's like, okay, everyone's clicking now. Yeah. But it was brutal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a brutal industry, right? Like, I mean, I've had very minimal experience. I don't know if I've told you this, but my grandmother owned our town restaurant, like growing up, so I was always the kid running through the back door, like grabbing French fries out of things. That's awesome. I never worked in it, but I saw it. And there was I always had this thing in my heart for restaurants, and really back of the house more than anything. Yep. But it's a brutal industry, right? It is. I mean, the hours are brutal, like the work, like everything about it. So it seems like something like that is necessary. Like, are you cut out for this? Like, are you able to because the first day someone yells at you, you're done, then all right, man, this wasn't the right path for you.
Exactly.
Did you realize that? Like, did you kind of know, like, all right, man, did you know that was just kind of part of the game?
I think at that moment, like I didn't really, I mean, I knew it was going to be tough, but not that tough, because not working in a restaurant before, you kind of just grew up in it, like, or that you envision like that glamourness that Food Network painted. For sure. And it's not glamour at all. Yeah. Yeah. And then, so it did kind of like, I was a little shell shocked. Yeah. I knew it was going to be tough, but it's like, you're always on a time sense of urgency to, it's just sometimes tough in working conditions. And then, somebody inside your mind yelling at you all the time. It's just like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And then after a while, it's just one time after 6 months, I'm like, okay, I'm not cut out for it. Yeah. But then he just threw me right back in.
Reassured you that you were cut out for it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. So it was craziness. So.
And I mean, it seemed like that was kind of the standard, right? I mean, that's kind of the whole heart and soul behind the French trained, right? Yep. It's the brigade or whatever, right? Yep. So, I mean, is that changing?
I definitely see it as changing. It's definitely got, it's more, and especially, like here at Course, like if you tell somebody once, twice, okay, maybe it's a lack of teaching on our end. But if they repeat something after 5 or 6 times, and obviously it's not us. Yeah. Yeah. It's on them. So, I mean, then, you obviously you have to yell. Yeah. But not in a demeaning way. Yeah. We always try to encourage first, but even after, if we yell one time and then they repeat it again, it's like, come on, it's maybe it's a lack of commitment or a lack of caring, or it's something's not clicking. Something. Yeah. Yeah. So, but we always try to, and I also have a teaching background as well when I taught at Le Cordon Bleu. Yeah. So it's like, I like to teach and make sure I'm pretty thorough in the first round of instructions, and I always have them write everything down too. And we have recipes here, like guidelines, sure, but not everything has a recipe. Okay. So I always encourage them to like, here's the components, here's the technique, and then that way they learn the way I learned, where it's like, okay, it's not always gonna be a recipe. You have to visually see and learn how to cook. Yeah. And that's it. But like, I'm not a yeller until I have to. I hate, it just doesn't feel right. Sure. It's not good for morale. Here I want people to be serious, of course, but at the same time, we'd like to have fun. Yeah. And that's, I think that's what builds like a positive, morale and environment. And, the more calm somebody is, and, if they're trained well, like, it just brings a better sense to everyone else. Like it's, bad morale is contagious. Like it just spreads everywhere like wildfire. Sure. So we try to keep it very positive here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
For me, like with you personally, I love the, you've got Chef Cory, you got the chef's coat on and stuff. And then I come in, you've got like your Metallica shirt on or something. I
got Santa Claus, believe in Santa Claus today.
Yeah. It's like, is that Bigfoot? It's like, it's like a Bigfoot sighting.
Oh, that's awesome.
But but then when I've come in here and seen you in action and your team in action, like you guys are zoned in, man. Like you got, it's game time.
Yep.
Right. And in some ways I see it as, just from my outside perspective, it's like sports, right? Like when 5 o'clock comes, those doors open. That's opening kickoff,
exactly.
Right? And then
we're on stage.
Yeah,
It's but that, that's definitely how to. When everyone gets here, we're all relaxed. We're in our blue aprons, regular shirts and stuff, and talking shit and listening to music, but everyone's prepping very well.
Yeah.
So they're still focused, but then definitely when the doors open, like we dim the lights, all the heat lamps come on, chef coats come out, different apron. But then it's like, that's our time. Like we're on stage, for the guests, and we have to be quiet and focused. And, during service, like there's only necessary talking back there. Like we'd like to try to keep it as quiet as possible because it makes more sense. Like it's better for, the brain.
Yeah. Sure.
So, and it's obviously we don't want the guests, hearing what we're saying.
What the hell are you doing?
So, definitely the communication it's only the necessary communication during that time.
Yeah.
But that's what we like, it's a lot of fun for us.
Well, you're right though. You guys are on display like at this restaurant. Like when you come to course, you see you guys in action, and I love it. I think it's great. Just the way this whole place is designed, like you said, the lighting and stuff, it's cool, but it, you don't have that I don't know the word I'm looking, not benefit, but you kind of you don't have the benefit of like being kind of back behind those doors, right? Where you're like, oh man, and you just kind of, what the hell is this guy doing at table 6? Like, what's this guy?
And that's kind of the way. Because it was designed around the thought of like, because this all came about definitely through the in-home dining and like where I went into people's homes, I'm in their kitchen and then cooking in front of them basically, or off to the side. And enough for them to see if they wanted to. Yeah. And that was kind of the thing too. Like we could have easily blocked this wall off. But it at the same time, we're like, no, we want it same sense of like, we're in their home, but now they're in our home and, just keeping it open and, keep it where they can see if they wanted to see. So it's just a lot more fun for us. Like there's a better connection, I feel, from the guests to, the culinary team to, see what the guests are, what their expressions are when they eat. Yeah. It's just a better thing or better route, I think. Yeah. So
it's like art, man. There's one thing about buying a piece of art, but if you can watch the artist make that piece of art, like dang, like that, you have more of a connection with that.
Yeah. And that's fun. And we always, it also is like, it's better for the guys too, because you're always conscious of like, okay, how clean am I? And we try to keep that immensely clean back there. So it also trains our guys to like, okay, every step is critical, whether it's a time sense or a time crunch, but not only that, but being conscious of how clean you really are. So it's a good thing.
So when did the idea for course like start to kind of come about for you?
Oh my gosh, I started writing the concept actually in 2016. So it took me 8 years to get from there to here, but it was just on I think it was in Canada, actually, on a bus and going up to Whistler. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, eventually, I've always wanted a restaurant. I always had restaurant ideas, but it was always that name course always stuck in my head because it's not just because of, the multi-course meals, but it's more of like a direction that we want to go or the path that we want to go with the style of food that we do. Yeah. So from course, like just the name itself, that's what had so many like different meanings for myself. And then from there, it's like, okay, it makes sense to do a multi-course dinner. And that's what I like anyway. That's at the time I was at Atlas. We did a smaller one. It was only a 3 or 4 course prefix. But I knew I liked that style of food. Like I don't like just giving somebody an appetizer or an entree. Like I want to, you can only tell me so many. I always say like a chef's menu is like, their story about the season. So for me, it's hard to tell my story in one entree or one appetizer. So it's like, I want to tell them in a multi-course meal. And just to me, it's more fun, you know, just kind of balancing that, you know, start them off in bitter stages and, you know, just, you know, making the flavor profile just go up and down the whole time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how course was developed. And then I wrote it all on paper in a little black notebook. And then I was trying to think of ways, you know, I talked to like so many people in the industry or here in the Valley, like, you know, David De Lorenzo, like just like all these great titans out there of, you know, how do I go about this? Like, how do you find the investors? How do you plan this out? How do you build your performa? Yeah. So it took me a long time to like really hone exactly what, you know, everything was on a piece of paper.
Sure.
But it was,
sorry to interrupt, but like when you say everything, like, I mean, you're talking everything from design to the food, or are you talking about just the food?
I was talking about design and everything. You know, how many square feet do I want to get into to like, you know, how do you even get to those, you know, thinking of what forecasting numbers, like, it all, you know, it all comes down to the food, the style of service, how many staff you need to, you know, what area, how big square footage, you know, then everything like ties together. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So I felt overwhelmed, you know, trying to build it, but I learned so much. Like, I think my performa got revised at least 100 times.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, just kind of building it and making it better, making it pretty and making it presentable. And, you know, eventually it came about. And then one time also, then I won a design award through, at the time it was House of Form, but it was FJI Design.
Okay. Yeah.
So I won that like little, you know, scholarship from Dala and the team, which was amazing.
Yeah.
You know, that, you know, it was my concept one where it's like, okay, then I think this is a good concept, you know? But it took some time to get from there. It was craziness.
And more than you wanted in a way. Like, so like for me, I have certain things that I love to do. Right.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't want to figure out accounting and, you know, stuff like that. But once you become an entrepreneur and you own your own business, you got to.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So were you kind of digging into those things that you were kind of like, I never thought I would be in this aspect?
Yeah. There's a lot of things where it's like, okay, you know, you knew, I always knew that work was ahead of me.
Yeah.
But then there's like all the stuff in between. You're like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm like, oh, and it's overwhelming because especially the first like 4 months of opening, like my emails went crazy.
Yeah.
But you know, now the dust is starting to settle where it's a lot more easy and it's more efficient now. But it's, I mean, I knew it was gonna be a lot of work to get a restaurant, and it still is a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know, but it's, to me, it's gratifying because that's always been my dream. Like I always wanted my studio, you know, because, you know, as culinarians, we're culinary artists. So it's like you always want your studio, your gallery. And you're never really happy until it happens.
Yeah.
So
So when did it go from being, all right, here's my idea and I've got this stuff on paper, to actually like, okay, there's a spot available on, you know, Scottsdale Road and Shea. Mm-hmm. When did it start to become real to you?
It started getting real probably 2022. Okay. I think is when it got really real. Yeah. And it was like very like, you know, I had some investment lined up, and I had some money saved to the side as well. And, you know, it started like, oh my gosh, and then I found a place, and I contacted my broker right away. I'm like, hey, I like this little spot. Yeah. You know, it's definitely, you know, it's in a strip mall. It's kind of like not your norm, but I wanted something that was small, quaint, comfortable to go into. And then, you know, from the outside, it's not what you expect to see on the inside. You know, it's very unassuming, and it's kind of like that under promise and over deliver philosophy. But it started coming very real, in 2022, or actually probably end of 2021. But everything, the ball just kept rolling, and all of a sudden, you know, signing a lease to, you know, hiring an architectural team to hiring contractors, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it got too real too fast. Yeah. And there was a sense of excitement, but at the same time there was that, oh shit. Yeah. Like it's actually coming. But it was a very gratifying process. Yeah.
Yeah. So menu wise, right? So when you started to, I love the fact that it is this is a 5-course?
Yeah. So on Wednesdays and Thursdays, so we do a 5-course, but we always design our 10-course first. That's our Friday and Saturday menu. Okay. And then on like Wednesdays and Thursdays, we break down that menu, that 10-course, into 5-course. So that way it's a lower price point,
Okay.
but it just helps, definitely on the weekdays. Weekends are good.
Yeah.
But on the weekdays, it's kind of like you want to draw more of those people in, and it works out perfect.
Yeah.
So it's like, just breaking that 10-course down into 5-course choice of, the first 2 courses obviously set, but then, the guest has that option to kind of choose their own adventure if they wish, or, if they want to stick to a certain style of wine, like they can order it accordingly.
Yeah.
So,
okay. But that's the cool thing I think about it is it's like, here, we'll take care of that for you.
Yep.
Like it's chosen.
Yep.
You might have a choice here between the avocado or the escargot or the lobster or the tuna.
Yep.
But this is I like that because I feel like when I want to have an elevated experience with something, whatever it is, I want the people who know it the best to kind of tell me, like, guide me through this.
Yeah.
Let me know how should I experience this? Not like, oh, well, this is what I want.
Exactly.
It's like, you guys you're the expert. Like, you're the one that puts this stuff together, and and also having the, like I said, the staff that's able to then help kind of, bridge that, where my knowledge is to, like, all right, dude, how do I experience this now?
Yeah.
You got the right staff to be able to say, all right, you take a little bit of this, take a little bit of this, you'll feel the crunch of this with the, I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
awesome. Yeah.
And that's how I view like a multi-course restaurant. It's kind of like in a preset venue. It's like going to a venue for a concert. Like, you don't know what their playlist is, but it's going to start out kind of hardcore, and then it mellows, and it just keeps dipping you through different emotions. And that's the same thing with a multi-course menu. That's kind of how we design that menu out, where it's like there's always going to be those elements of surprise. We know that there's going to be escargot coming, but it's like, how is it going to be different the way we choose to do it, to make it unique. But at the same time, we try to keep it approachable, where it's some of these levels or flavor profiles are comfortable, but hopefully we surprise the guests where it's okay. It's different from what they expected.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our philosophy here.
So we're going to take a break real quick. But before, what is escargot? The only thing I knew about escargot until recently was that it was like a notorious BIG.
Oh, they're just delicious snail. I mean, the snails, and they're just, the ones that we get are, they feed off of basil. So that's why, we wanted to pair basil with it. It just kind of made sense.
Yeah.
But it's just delicious. They take some time to cook down, to make them tender, because they're basically like a big solid piece of muscle.
Yeah.
But they braise them down long enough and they become super, super tender.
Yeah. They're in rap lyrics for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? If they
exactly.
were shit, they wouldn't be.
That's awesome.
All right, dude, let's take a quick break.
A real quick reminder, head over to atasteofaz.com and subscribe to our email newsletter. Also, subscribe to A Taste of AZ magazine and get it shipped right to your door. Now let's get back into today's episode.
All right, man. So, all right, what else was I? There was another thing I was going to ask about on this. What the PB&J? Like, what is? Because that's the thing that I like about your food too, is it's very approachable. Like these are all things that there's a couple things that I don't know what, like huitalochi.
Oh, huitlacoche. Yeah. So that one's actually interesting. Like it's a corn smut or corn fungus, and it's known as the Mexican truffle. But what we do is we puree it down, and then we incorporate a little masa into it and some ash from burning corn husks. And we make a dough that's it looks black, but then we form that dough into like balls the same size as a truffle, like a black truffle.
Yeah.
And then we steam them for like an hour. We let them air dry in a walk-in for 2 days. And it's kind of like, that same, like a truffle grown underground, like it's in this environment where it's kind of like staying dry and everything like that. And, the moisture or the air from the ground is kind of drying it out. But that's what we did to try to mimic that truffle. Is we dried it out so that way our servers can shave it on top of the avocado dish. So it's kind of like that. That's another like a little element of surprise of just turning huitlacoche into something that's completely different looking. Yeah. So it's kind of neat
and very simple. I'd say very simple, right? Like someone comes and looks at their avocado, corn, rice and beans, scallion. Huitlacoche.
Yeah. And then our rice and beans is actually not even rice. It is rice and beans, but we overcook rice and then we puree it and then incorporate black bean into it and cumin and chipotle, some spices.
Yeah.
Then we just take that paste and air dry it. And then from there, we refried it 400 degrees plus, and it puffs up like a cracker, like a rice cracker. And that's our rice and beans for that dish.
Man, I'm impressed, man. When we had you on the chef series with SFE, you were going to do a black bean tostado.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've done. That's pretty simple, right? And it's pretty simple. But you were talking about like technique and stuff like that, and like about there's a recipe and then there's like the technique, and that was. Luke and I talk about it all the time. We're like, dude, remember when Cory did that freaking tostado? And it was just watching you do it, hearing you talk about like, adding a little bit of this for the acidness. And then the final product came out, and I could have put those same ingredients all together and it wouldn't have tasted anything like that. It was incredible, man. Like it was probably the best non-meat dish I've ever had.
Oh,
like,
thank you.
Dude,
thank you.
It was incredible. So that to me, just a little kind of flashback. The first time I had heard of you, or first time that I'd seen anything about you, I was watching Chopped, and I'm friends with Tamara Stanger. I'm like, oh, Tamara's going to be on Chopped, right? And I'm like, who's this guy from Phoenix beating Tamara? But I fell in love with you, man. Like I'm like, dude, this guy's awesome. Like,
thank you.
Like it was one of those things where I was like, yeah, I was bummed that Tamara didn't win, but I was happy that I found a new Phoenix chef to worship.
You're so awesome, man. Thank you.
And then I think I reached out to you. I was like, hey, dude, like I saw your episode, but it was, dude, it's from day one to just kind of see, just your great personality and your humbleness but then to follow through with this food that's just incredible, man.
Thank you.
I mean, it makes sense why, anytime I bring your name up to somebody, I went to the Shamrock was having their like expo today. So I went for a little bit. I wanted to meet a couple people, and I saw Jennifer Caraway from Joy Bus.
Oh yeah.
So she's like, oh, hey, what do you do? She's like, you're leaving already? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing a podcast with Chef Cory Oppold. And she's like, I love Cory.
Oh, that's awesome.
You guys are doing some sort of like
in November, I believe.
Yeah, some sort of like, is it like a benefit dinner or something like that? Like all the Chopped champion type of. Yeah. But every time I bring your name up, man, people are like, oh, dude, Cory's awesome.
Oh,
man.
that's awesome. That makes me feel good.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, you're doing something right, man. You're doing something right for sure. But yeah, so I just had to kind of throw that all at you real quick,
That's awesome. Oh, that makes you feel good.
Well, when you first opened, we came, Luke and I came, and we enjoyed the patio. That's what a thing that I love about Course too, right? You have this, like you said, it's in a strip mall. I mean, first of all, you've got one of the best patisseries in the state, like right across
the street.
jail.
Yeah.
Their stuff is incredible.
They are.
But this patio is great. And I don't know if this is something you want to share or not, but I remember when we came, you had some unexpected issues with the plants or something.
Yeah, that's all of our ficus that we planted. And that was the first summer. Remember, it was like I think it was like 36 days of over 110 or 115.
Yeah,
and they all died towards the parking lot.
Yeah,
and it was just so hot, and no matter how much you watered it, you just could not. Like the sun just burnt the leaves. So fortunately, they were insured because the time frame that we got them from the nurseries.
Yeah,
that they came out and replanted them for us. The summers are just brutal anyway. Like even the ones towards the parking lot now are still a little bare, but during the fall and winter they start to bulk up again.
Yeah,
and it's also because it's facing that parking lot and all the radiant heat from the windshields to the cement, it just destroys them. So that patio has been an adventure.
Well, that's why I was saying, I mean, that was the reason I brought it up. It was to say, like, when you open a place, you don't know what the hell you're going to deal with, right? Yep. You're like, all right, got this done. We got staffing. We've got our ingredient process. All this is, well, what about the sun on the ficus?
Yeah. It's,
you don't think about that.
It's all the stuff in between there. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And that's oddly enough, takes more of your time than anything.
For sure.
It's like, oh.
But regardless, that patio was beautiful. I love it. The whole place is a beautiful place. The food is incredible. What's the goal with this? I
don't know. Just to keep. I don't know. It's just for us. I mean, us back there, we're just having fun, and each seasonal menu that we come out with. Every summer you're going to work with cucumbers, tomatoes, and all the usual suspects. But it's like, each year we just want to kind of like build our repertoire of techniques and just new ways of like doing things, I guess. And, just keep teaching ourselves and from there, teaching others around us and just making Course just a fun place to go to. And not only that, there is our seasonal menus that we change 4 times a year, but we're also doing, we have a a brunch program called Morning Wood on Sundays. So it's
that one. Yeah. I like how you say it with a straight face. It's Morning Wood.
Morning Wood. And oddly enough, I think I did the first Morning Wood as a pop-up at Chula Seafood.
Oh, nice.
Gosh, I think it was back in 2019.
Okay.
And it just made sense where it's a brunch pop-up, and it's like, okay, we'll just call it Morning Wood. It just made sense to me. But I mean, it's obviously spelled a little different, but it's, it just, and I like those kind of things where it's like, tongue in cheek, like, we like to be serious during, our, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but on Sunday it's more playful. Just kind of let your hair down. Well, not me, but
you let it all down.
Yeah. But it's just kind of like, food is, I mean, it's supposed to be serious back there and everything like that, but at the same time there should be a playful aspect, because
sure,
I don't know if because I'm a straight up Gemini where it's two different personalities, but I do have that wild side too. So it's like, have that same, have the food kind of like translate from you, who you are, your personality.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to make Morning Wood just approachable, fun, usual food that's like, okay, it's fun. And then on top of that, we're also doing like a series of pop-ups where it's like now 2 times a month we're on Sundays, because we wanted to back there as culinarians, we get bored of the same stuff.
Sure.
And making brunch every time, I was like, oh, okay. So we wanted to dabble in now into, we're doing pop-ups 2 Sundays. It'll start being the first 2 Sundays each month.
Okay.
But we're going to switch Morning Wood. We're still going to keep Morning Wood, but we're going to go into like things like, we just did a diner menu where we're taking recreations of diner food and turn it into a 7 or 8 course meal. And then next month we're doing Italy. And it's just fun for the public because it's to them, they know what Italian American food is going to look like.
Yeah.
But it's us taking those usual things and, recreating them the way we want to. So it's a more of a surprising yet approachable thing for the guest.
Yeah.
And those little dinners are going really well.
Yeah.
So, and we did France a couple months ago. For Father's Day, we did a steakhouse concept. So it's like, we're going to dabble into this, like, either it's going to be a country or just a theme or whatever it may be. And just kind of play around with it and just have fun. So we don't get stagnant back there or bored or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So.
I like that. And it's like, okay, yeah, you've had chicken Parmesan. Have you ever had it this way?
Yeah.
Like with the whatever it is, like, because when those dishes come out, you're just looking at, you don't want to eat it right at first. You're just looking at like, what is this? Like, why is this circle like upside down on here? And what's this dollop of stuff?
Uh-oh. And
then, but then if you can, create that into something that's like, they're looking at this like, what the heck is this? And like, oh, it's a
chicken Parmesan.
It's a hot pocket. So. Not a hot pocket, but that's all I always say about Cornish pasty. People are like, oh, what's Cornish pasty? I'm like, dude, it's like the best hot pocket.
Oh yeah, it's delicious.
Dude, Cornish pasty is incredible.
I love that.
Yeah. I don't know if my stomach has gotten bigger or if their portions have gotten smaller, but like I used to struggle getting through one. Now I'm like, I need to order 2.
Two. I'm the same way.
Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. And I love, with us being friends on like Facebook, I get to kind of see, not just the kind of the business posts and stuff like that, but from you personally. And so to see, you sharing those, like the diner thing, it's like, it just adds something fun. Like, because in my opinion, I mean, you're one of the top, if not the top chef with fine dining in the state. So to like you said, the Gemini thing there's 2 sides to it, right? Where it's like, all right, you got this, and this is going to be, this is great, but we're going to do this too. We're going to do diner. We're going to do steakhouse, and take these, and I'm sure your team loves it too. Like being able to take these techniques and these ingredients and all that stuff, and then kind of, all right, how do we make this into a loaded baked potato, but in this version of it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's so much fun I mean, I just like it's because it's like that. Same thing, under promise over deliver thing, where it's like, okay, people know what diner food is, they know what a Reuben is, but then we recreate Reuben into something totally different.
Yeah.
Or meatloaf. I mean, meatloaf is always going to be meatloaf, but just the way we played it and apply different techniques to it, just makes it something fun, special for us.
Yeah.
And then like next month, September, we're doing Italy, and then November we're doing Mexico.
Nice.
And then Chef Luis, our sous chef, is amazing.
Yeah.
So he's going to take more charge on that, obviously, because that's his culture. That's his place. And so we're super excited. Then December we're going to do our 12 days of Christmas again this year.
Nice.
So we'll be doing that's going to be our special pop up then. and obviously I have a Christmas obsession. So
I was gonna ask, yeah,
everything holidays,
Yeah,
everything
okay.
holidays.
Yeah.
Like it's like, I don't necessarily get Starbucks, but when it come out with pumpkin spice, I'm like, all right, it's time to decorate for fall.
put your Uggs on and
Yeah.
go get some pumpkin
I
spice.
love that because I love holidays. It's just,
Yeah,
I think I just had a lot of great holidays growing up, or
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's just like, I love the change. Like I love change.
yeah,
So to me, it's gratifying. And it's like, even with the seasons like that, I love Halloween because it's like it's like the step of coming up to Christmas. You know what I mean?
dude, you sound like my wife. Like my wife, she's like, I hate Halloween. She's like, I hate Halloween, but I love it because it means Christmas is
Oh
coming.
yeah, Christmas is coming. And that's great. Is like that, and Thanksgiving and all that stuff. I just love that time of the year where it's just everyone seems to be more jolly and like,
Yeah.
just more relaxed and having fun, and that's just, to me, it's special. So
When, especially in Arizona, you by Thanksgiving you forget that you're gonna die in the summer.
Yeah.
Right? Like you forget. Like that's what I love. Right, coming from Ohio, like it's by the I don't know December, January, you forget that it's gonna get hot again.
Yeah.
Right, like because there's such a big gap and it's amazing. But then around this time, like when things are starting to cool down, you're still like, man, I'm still sweating in my jeans and like I'm just, it's just hot. But you have that, that like when Thanksgiving comes and when Halloween comes and Christmas, it's going to be just beautiful.
we get a
And
break. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And that's
love
when people, that's when that patio gets full, right? That's when people are coming out. And that's why we live in Arizona, right? Every year, around this time, my friends are taking screenshots like, dude, like what the hell are you doing there? I'm like, I'm gonna send you screenshots from November through May. Yeah,
It's exactly. To get to be pampered that amount of time, you have to go through the hell as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, come on.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a good trade off.
Yeah. So big picture, like for you personally, not even just so much for course, but like when all's said and done, like when Chef Cory is, sitting at his lake house in Illinois, right, contemplating his career, like what do you want? What do you want to achieve?
To be honest, I just want to make a very memorable restaurant that people just do know is like, okay, this is a very important place or a special place.
Yeah.
In the culinary scene here in the Valley, because there's so many great chefs out here. But that's like just one of those things. I just wanted to just be a special place.
Yeah.
And at the same time, train myself and teach myself new techniques and new ways of just kind of looking at food. But at the same time, helping brain up our future culinarians and teaching the guys like, okay, this is a different way to look at food or a different way to look at the avocado or the huila coche.
Yeah.
Just kind of building up. We hope as culinarians that we give back to the future of what culinary can be for Arizona.
Yeah.
So, and I taught for years at the culinary school. So it's like, that's a very important thing to me still is the teaching aspect. And, you have to leave a good print.
Sure. Yeah.
You want to look back and still see your footprint a little bit.
Yeah. You don't want to see the wake of chaos that you left, right?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Quite the opposite.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You want it to be, I don't know, I just want to be something special. But, obviously, getting some kind of award like a James Beard or, if Michelin came here, like, of course, every chef wants that. But,
Yeah.
In the long run, though, you just want it to be, hey, I left a good footprint on Arizona culinary scene.
Yeah. Well, dude, I'm glad you brought that up because that was something I wanted to ask about. I see it up there. Two of the pineapples.
Oh, yeah.
The Foodist Awards.
Yep.
Dude, that was so cool. It was so cool to see, like, I'd never been to it before. And to see for you specifically, because I also saw after like somebody had posted a video of you, like I don't even know if you knew that they were videoing you, right? But you were watching intently, like, and you can tell how important it is for I love the Foodist Awards because it was one of those things where everybody from the community came, right?
Mhm,
Like, I think they did it on a Monday, which is a lot of times when people are closed or whatever. So they did it so that a lot of the industry people could be there, right? That's what it's about.
Yep.
So to see you win it was incredible, man.
Thank you.
Much deserved. And then when I saw that video of you watching, like when they were announcing it, and then you were just like, holy shit. Like it was, dude, it hit my heart because it was like, man, this is, you guys put so much work and there's so much work and sacrifice and all these things that you guys do to get to this point.
Mhm.
To see, and I know you don't do it for the recognition, but when you get that recognition, that means a ton.
It does.
It
does.
And it was cool. And you had your daughter with you.
Yeah.
You said it was very important to bring your daughter, right? Like it
Mhm.
was just for her to see that too. It was just awesome.
Yeah,
man.
I think. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I had to bring her because it's like, if anyone's seen my struggles trying to get to this point, I mean, there's times in my past where I just work at a place because it was a great place. I wasn't making shit.
Yeah.
But you sacrifice and you stick it out.
Yeah. For sure.
To get to like where you want to get and still follow the same philosophy of food that you just won't change it for the world.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of, obviously there's sacrifice every day, but I mean, it was a lot in the past, and I had to bring her with because she's seen it all.
Yeah.
So.
I dig it. So to see her, like, because I think she was in that video too, and she was like, you were stone faced, like you were like just like zoned in, and she was smiling. She was like looking back and forth, and like, and then when it was awesome.
It was special.
It was cool to see that. In like you said, these places you work where you weren't making shit. One of the things that has always stuck with me through, I think it was Kitchen Confidential, the Bourdain book, where he talked about where he kind of regretted following the money. Like he took the jobs that paid the most, where he would see other people take a different path. Like, dude, I'm not getting paid shit here, but I'm learning from the best guy in the city.
Yep.
And it sounds like with you, kind of, it was like you were sacrificing that, like you wanted to be the best at what you do, right? Which is a hard thing to do sometimes, right?
Yeah.
When that paycheck is like, you're like,
yeah, it got hard. It definitely got hard, but I mean, you just stick it out. I mean, yeah, you just want to be the best to your ability.
Yeah.
And that's it. And there's several times where I could have, definitely sold out.
Yeah.
And went at a more comfortable route, but at the same time, it's like I wouldn't be happy.
Yeah.
Like, you have to follow your path and what your vision of food is, or else it's not you.
For sure.
Just no point.
Yeah.
So.
And I think once you get that, like it's the same for me when I took that leap in 2018 to kind of do this. I've never really had a plan B, and you always hear the Cortez burning the ships thing. And I never really had, like, I never really thought of it that way. But then I realized, like, I've never had a plan B. Like, I never, like, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure this out. And, there were times where I want to quit per se, but I don't want to quit. I just want to say, F this. And I'm like, it's 5:00. I'm going to bed now. And then wake up the next day and you're like, all right, let's do this.
Back at it.
Yeah, back at it. And there's never a doubt. And I think that's to me, that's an indication that you're on the right path, right? Because you could be, I had jobs in Ohio that were like, that paid really good. I mean, I was driving a forklift or something, making $20 an hour, but for, no college degree and what was in my area, I was like, oh shit, man. Okay. I'm doing pretty good, but that's the golden handcuffs type of thing, right? Then what? 40 years later, you're just like, dude, now what? Now I'm a shift supervisor. Like, no, like that doesn't feed my heart. It doesn't. It's which kind of makes decisions easy sometimes. Yeah. Right. Where it's like, no, that's not the right path for me.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, passion can be. It has its pros and it has its cons. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just. I mean, but you have to be. I mean, you just have to follow your passion, and then the end result should be good.
Yeah. So. Exactly. So, do you have plans for like more restaurants, more locations for Course, or is it just kind of this is it right now and seeing what you can do with this?
Think just this is it for right now. I mean, I definitely just like a chef writes a lot of menus, after a while too, you start writing a lot of concepts.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have some concepts that eventually I would like to explore.
Yeah.
That are unique and fun. They're a little bit different.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's I never know.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to see maybe one or two more
of
something, whether it would never be as great, like this, not as hardcore, but more relaxed and, to, tap into other demographics and stuff, just something different, but maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. I like it though, man. I like it. Like, I mean, with us, like, people are like, all right, what's next for you guys? Like, all right, we got a podcast rolling, we got a magazine, we have a festival and like a couple other things. I want to get really good at those things.
Yep.
Right. Before we start this other thing, we could do this. We could do this. No, we got the wheels turning on this and it's about 20% of where I want it to be.
Yeah.
I want to get those filled up before, I kind of, and it kind of sounds like the same thing. Like, let's get this thing rocking.
Exactly.
Let's set our, let's make our mark with Course.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And then, eventually, hopefully, 5 some odd years down the road, maybe something different.
Sure. Yeah.
So we'll see.
All right, buddy. Well, hey, thanks for taking the time, man.
Of course, my man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to get one of those containers for
Oh, our deli cups? The chef's Dixie cup is what I call
I
them.
love it, man.
So
that's a big ass Dixie cup. All right, buddy. Thanks,
awesome.
man.
Thanks, brother.